Sports Refresh, the show that breaks down all of the most important news in sports so you don't have to spend hours looking for it. I'm your host today, Lucky Roberts, and today we've got yet another epic week of playoff games to break down. So let's get into it. Let's start off with some NBA basketball, where the first round matchups have all finished up as of last night. Last time we checked in, the only two series that had finished off were the OKC Thunder sweeping the Memphis Grizzlies and the Cavs sweeping the Miami Heat. Now let's break down how the other series have ended. First up was the Indiana Pacers versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Game 3 of this series, the Bucks all-star Damian Lillard unfortunately tore his Achilles, leaving Giannis Antetokounmpo all alone against the Pacers, and the Pacers went on to win in just 5 games. Next up was the Celtics and the Orlando Magic. The Celtics are the defending champions and showed that in this series, winning in 5 games as well. In a surprising victory, the Minnesota Timberwolves ended up taking down the Lakers in just 5 games as well. LeBron and Luka Doncic couldn't take down the Timberwolves' Anthony Edwards in a battle of stars. Next was an exciting matchup between the New York Knicks and the feisty Detroit Pistons. This was a physical series where nearly every game went down to the wire, and its last game was no different. The Knicks' Jalen Brunson nearly made his defender fall before nailing a 3 to seal the series in 6 games. Next up was the Clippers versus the Denver Nuggets. This was an equally exciting series all the way going to Game 7. The Nuggets blew the Clippers out of the water in the win-or-go-home situation, and they moved on. The last series was between the Houston Rockets and the Golden State Warriors. Yet another exciting series with a ton of close games. This one also went to 7 games, but the Warriors ended up moving on thanks to an unlikely hero, Buddy Hield, finishing with 33 points. Round 2 of the playoffs actually started last night and will continue to go on for the next few weeks, so make sure to tune into the refresh to see all of that. Keeping up with the playoff news, the NHL also had its first round finish up last week. The first team to win its series with the Carolina Hurricanes taking down the injury-riddled New Jersey Devils in just 5 games. The Devils looked hot to start off the year, but an unlikely injury to their star, Jack Hughes, killed their title hopes. The next series to end was the Capitals versus the Montreal Canadiens. The Canadiens were feisty and young, but just didn't work against the experienced Capitals, who took the series in 5. Then it was the Battle of Florida finishing up, with the defending champions Florida Panthers taking down the Tampa Bay Lightning in just 5 games as well. From the Celtics to the Panthers, it seems like championship experience makes a pretty easy pass through the first round. After the Battle of Florida came the Battle of Ontario between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Ottawa Senators. After going down 3-0 early, the young Senators battled back to win 2 games in a row. They could only do so much against the veteran Maple Leafs, though. Took the series home in Game 6 and moved on to the second round. Next up was the Vegas Golden Knights taking down the Minnesota Wild in just 6 games. This was a battle of experience, though, as the Wild were gaining their first playoff experience, while the Knights are former champions and have been deep playoff runs in the last couple of seasons. Last year's runner-up Edmonton Oilers took down the Los Angeles Kings in 6 games. And it was the Dallas Stars as well taking down the Colorado Avalanche in a super close 7-game series. And finally, the best series of them all was the Winnipeg Jets versus the St. Louis Blues. After the Jets took games 1 and 2, the Blues stormed back to win 3 and 4 in convincing fashion. It ended up coming down to a Game 7 where the Jets scored 2 goals in the last 5 minutes to send the game into overtime, one with 1.6 seconds left on the clock. The game-tying goal came from a tip-in from Cole Perfetti. Talk about clutch. That momentum led the Jets to win the game in double overtime, thanks to Neil Pionk. What a game. The second round matchups for the NHL will be going down for the next few weeks, so once again stay tuned for the refresh for that. Keep the playoff news coming as the P2HL plays theirs on Wednesday. These first round series are the best of 5, and the matchups are as follows. With a miraculous late season comeback, last year's champion Minnesota Frost have snuck into the playoffs and will be facing the Toronto Raptors. Then it's the top seeded Victoire de Montreal facing off against the Ottawa Charge, who recently clinched their postseason spot. These playoffs are looking to be exciting, so make sure to tune in next week to see how the start of these series go. And just when you thought it was over, we have more playoff news for you. The semifinals of the Champions League had its first 2 games earlier in this week, so let's break it down. The first game was between Arsenal and PSG. Most of the match was relatively even, but the early lead came to PSG thanks to a goal from Ousmane Dembele, and held that lead for the rest of the match. They've been the most dominant team in France for a long time, and this season, by a landslide, they've showed that dominance and they won that game 1-0 against Arsenal. The second game was between Inter Milan and Barcelona, which was a thriller. After 2 early goals from Milan, Barcelona tied it back up to go into halftime. Barcelona scored on a rare own goal. A player puts the ball into their own net. They're not supposed to be doing that. And in the second half, Milan tied it up again, and the game ended at 3-3. Remember that the total score of 2 games in each matchup will move on. Because these first games were close, it'll make it an even more exciting second leg. That second leg goes down tomorrow and on Wednesday, and we'll give you updates next week here on The Refresh. And for our final piece of news this week, the Miami Grand Prix went down last week. The winner of this one was, for the 3rd race in a row, McLaren's Oscar Piastri. Piastri has had a most impressive start in the F1 this season, winning 4 of the 6 races so far, and while most people consider his teammate Lando Norris to be a better racer, Piastri is currently changing that conversation and narrative. The 2nd place was George Russell from Mercedes, and 3rd place was the aforementioned Norris. In the standings right now, Piastri sits first for drivers and McLaren sits in first for the constructors. The next Grand Prix goes down in Imola, Italy on May 18th, so make sure to stay tuned for the Refresh for updates when that happens. And that's all for this week's episode of the Shutter Sports Refresh. I've been your host, Lucky Roberts, and I hope you learned something today. That you can check me, Shutter Sports Media, and the writer for this episode, Finn, out on Instagram right here. Thanks for watching.